me, Steve, and my friend Alex. Alex, how you doing?
How's everybody doing? I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great.
Wonderful, wonderful. Man, today we got one of those underrated classics that if we don't talk about it, man, I think people are going to forget it.
Yeah.
We're talking about Death by Temptation, 1990. It was a low budget film, didn't get a huge release, and didn't make a lot of money or whatever. But it's one of those movies that if you're a black person growing up in that era, you knew about this movie. Whether you saw it or not, you knew about this movie. Let's get right to it. Alex, man, who's in this movie?
Well, we've got the director, and he also stars as the main character, James Bond III. If anybody has trouble remembering, hasn't done like a lot of stuff, but he did play a character in School Days. But he plays the character of Joel. You got Kadeem Hardison from A Different World, with the flip glasses. He was. This was during the time period where he was big, as far as like character wise, being with a different world was really heavy during this time period. So, I also had Bill Nunn. People remember him as Radio Raheem, and also New Jack City as the Dunner Man. We actually had a small cameo from Sam. Sam Jackson was in this. Played a small part. He played Joel's father, the
Yep.
minister, which I thought was like during this time period, I think Sam was getting his footing in Hollywood, so it was nice to see him. And they had
Yeah.
Minnie, I think what's her name, Minnie Gentry. She started her acting career in
The
1915.
grandmother.
Yeah, yeah, she played in Black Caesar.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
she was on the Cosby Show a few times too. So that was, it was nice to see her still acting at her age there. I think she was like what, in her 70s, I think, during this film. Um,
Yeah.
and
She
then
was. Yeah. She was old then.
the last character, I don't want, but you can't forget her. This is the debut of Cynthia Bond, who plays the main
Hmm.
creature antagonist in the film, the Temptress. And I got to tell you, man, as far as vampires, I'm not really a vampire guy. I'm more werewolf and
Yeah.
into those types of creatures. But this creature, and I'm not even gonna call her a vampire because she really wasn't. I've read some things where they're saying she
Right.
was a succubus, she's a vampire, but whatever she was,
Yeah.
I'm gonna call her a demon. All right, for her, this to be her
Right.
first like major performance in a film, even as low budget as it was, that was her character, man. If they were to do a remake, they'd have to bring her
Right.
back. I loved the creature. I loved her energy in the whole film. She was creepy as hell, man. Creepy throughout the film,
Yeah.
and she basically put the icing on the cake.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. She. It's a shame that she wasn't in a lot more movies and TV back in the day because she had the look. She
oh
had
yeah,
the look, man. She had the look. She had the
oh yeah,
style. She was smooth. I mean, yeah, definitely had the look. And sure enough, but it's like I said, it's a shame, man. You didn't get to see her in more stuff. I don't even know. I don't know
right,
what happened to her career or whatever.
right.
But
Actually, right now
another one
she
of those
is an
actresses.
author. She's an author. I think she's an author. She writes. She's a book writer. She writes books and stuff.
Okay,
So she's an author. Yeah.
okay, okay, cool. But yeah, man, she plays this part, whatever this creature is. She's great at it. And
Right.
I think what made it even a little more creepy for me is
Hmm.
that I'm also watching the Dahmer series on Netflix,
Hmm.
and Dahmer's picking up dudes in bars, and uh, I'm juxtaposing her and Jeffrey Dahmer, man, because they had the same mo, man. They meet somebody
Oh
at the
yeah.
bar, give them a drink, go back to her place, and they're dead.
Off.
You know, she
Right.
plays a fantastic temptress. Like that first kill with the bartender, man. Like she had to do my man like that. You know, and I guess I don't know. At least you let him get some first. You know what I'm saying? Before she offed him.
Right.
But
Right.
Yeah, and Kadeem Hardison, man, let's give him some props, man. He actually is a very good actor,
Right.
and
Right.
this is a very low budget movie, and some of these actors aren't these aren't trained actors. They don't have best acting ability or whatever. But Kadeem
Right.
Hardison and Bill Nunn are standouts in the acting department in this movie.
Yeah.
They're both really good. Kadeem Hardison is like really natural, just really good in his part.
Right.
It's kind of shocking that he didn't have more roles,
Yeah. Yeah. He
in
was really
Hollywood.
good.
So
He was really good. Because a lot of the characters were from Spike's camp. I think a lot of these characters, were this was like doing like a prime time for them because you figure, you got Different World, Spike had tons of movies out in the '90s, Do the Right Thing and whatnot. So, um, it was the right time for them to be on, be in a major film. And even though, like I said, even though it was low budget, it was nice to see him in this film. Now.
so yeah. One other note: the cinematographer. Who's the cinematographer of this movie?
Well, the cinematographer is Ernest Dickerson. We just spoke about him from Demon Knight. So again, another, he followed Spike's people, man. He was
Yeah.
from Spike's camp, so he helped out with this. He helped Mr. Bond out with this film, and I think with visuals, you notice through the film, you see a few things that that were a few like little tricks that were in Spike's film as well. Spike's films as well. So
Yeah, a lot of those camera angles
hmm
and almost shot like a music video in a lot of ways.
right,
Really
right.
reminds you of a music video, especially in the '80s and '90s.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Flowing in the bedroom, the flowing sheets on the bed, and the angles like looking up at a building, and
Right,
yeah, this reminds you of a video.
right.
So yeah, we kind of touched on it already,
hmm
but let's talk about what the plot is for this movie. To keep it short, essentially there's a succubus, a monster, a vampire, whatever she is, that's luring men to her place, and it's hard to tell if she's eating some of them or she's just killing them, or one way or another they don't make it.
No.
You know, they don't make it. Except for the one dude, man, she cut him up and he had to go home to his wife, and she ended up killing him.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I don't know what that dude was thinking. And let me back up real quick. Some of these guys, man, who come in this bar talking to this woman, man, you got to know something up with this chick if she talking to you like that on the first time y'all met.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
you got to know your limitations, and you got to say, you know what? Nah, this was too easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, I know dudes that would make the same dumbass mistake anyway, so I can't even complain. Like whatever.
Right.
But she's luring guys back to her place, man, and killing them. And we at the beginning of the movie we meet our protagonist, played by the director James Bond III. His name is Joel.
Joel. Mm-hmm.
And both of his parents are killed. His dad was Samuel L. Jackson, as a preacher. They were killed in a car accident. And that whole scene is kind of confusing when you watch it. But he ends up being raised by his grandmother. I think it was in North Carolina.
Yeah, it was in the South. Yeah.
His grandmother, she's really religious. His dad was a preacher. He wants to be a preacher when he gets out on his own. And he finally makes a decision to go to New York with his cousin. Was it his cousin or his brother? Was Kadeem Hardison? What was their actual relation?
I think they were kind of like
Because they had the same grandmother.
I think they grew up together. So I'm not sure if they were family members or not, because if you look up the synopsis in like Wikipedia, they're saying like childhood friends. But I always was confused by that too, because the way they were talking, they were almost like brothers. Right. But I think they were more. I think
they
they
were
close.
related one way or somehow.
Right.
Well, Joel comes to move in with comes to stay with Kadeem Hardison in New York. Kadeem Hardison is an actor in New York. He's successful. He's hip. He knows everything that's going on. Kadeem Hardison happens to meet this temptress in the bar. They kind of hit it off a little bit, but he's like, "Oh man, no, I got to go home, and my bro Joel's coming from out of town. I got to get him set up." So the temptress didn't get him that night,
right?
Because he would have been dead too.
Oh yeah.
yeah, you fast forward, man. He takes Joel to the bar and stuff. The temptress snags Joel.
Right.
And Kadeem's like, man, hold on, man. I don't know if you can talk to this woman. And it kind of goes on from there. You get introduced to Bill Nunn, and he's telling Kadeem, like, look, man, something's wrong with that chick at the end of the bar, man. I'm trying to tell you, there's something up with her. Something going on. Yeah. And this is the movie. This woman, she's tempting guys, taking them back, killing them. And now she's kind of lured Joel into this, and Kadeem feels like, hey, man, there's something wrong with this chick, man. I feel like, you need to leave her alone. And you come to find out Bill Nunn's some kind of secret agent, CIA spy, police, I don't know what he is.
Right.
Yeah. This dude, he got like 6 badges, man. I don't know what he is. But he's in the supernatural division of whatever.
FBI,
department they work. Like, whatever. It's not even that important for real.
Right.
It's not even that important for real. This shit is not important. But yeah, he's been investigating her, and this part is one of those things that don't make sense. He's investigating her. They know he was assigned to this case, so like they know that she's some kind of supernatural being or something. And he's like, yeah, I've been trying to get evidence on this woman for like a year or whatever. But he had evidence because he's seen guys leave with her and disappear like the next day, like they were missing.
Right.
So I'm like, what other evidence do you need? You've seen this happen like 6 or 7 times already. But all right, whatever. So yeah, man, that's basically the plot of the movie. That's what this movie is about. It's a really simple story.
Right.
It doesn't get much more simple than this. I think they tried to even complicate it a little too much with Bill Nunn's character.
Yeah, that was an extra.
But I guess they had to have some kind of extra conflict here. So, yeah. Is there any plot points that you like to touch on?
Yeah, well, we find a little more details. Like Joel's character is supposed to be, I guess, the last of his bloodline. And like I don't know, I'm trying to figure it out, but I would think that in his family bloodline, they're closer to God, as far as like in religion or the church or whatnot. I guess his father was like that,
right.
And then it was passed on to him, so he's the last of his bloodline. And I guess being that important, when she had her sights on Kay, which is Kadeem Hardison's character during that night you were talking about, immediately as soon as he said his name, she was like, "Oh, I know this guy. I know this kid. He's priority. I got to snuff this guy out. Snuff him out. We snuff out the light. That's what I took from it. So
right.
Immediately she kind of like puts Kay off to the side, and she concentrates on getting her hands on Joel. With Bill Nunn's character, Dougie. Again, I think his character could have been a lot better, man. I mean, again, they try to complicate a simple story with extra, like bringing some X-Files shit. Like, come on, man. And like you said, he's sitting there he's in the bar trying to talk to girls every night, getting dissed every night, and he's seeing these guys walk off to their death, and it's almost like you letting it happen. It didn't make sense the way to put him in there.
Like something wrong with her. Yeah.
Right.
Like your bartender, you're there every night. The bartender is gone. And you're just like, yeah, man. I gotta get some evidence on. Well,
that's pretty peculiar.
Follow her then. Yeah. Follow. Like I think the easiest solution would be like, you were sent on this assignment to follow this woman and find out like what kind of monster she is, or get her, or whatever.
Right.
The one thing he ain't doing is just following her to her place when she take these guys.
The simplest action, absolutely.
Instead of it being like, instead of being like 10 dead dudes, it might have been 1.
Yeah.
But like you said, they try to overcomplicate the story. It's still a good movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Epic failure. They try to overcomplicate the story. It's not necessary. It's not necessary.
Right.
So yeah, man. But from there, man, who's your favorite character in this movie?
I got to tell you, I love the Temptress. The simple fact is because
Yeah.
Cynthia was so good with with that character. She understood what the Temptress wanted, and
Hmm.
she actually like when you look at vampires or monsters, like you look at the character, the vampire from the first Fright Night, um uh, Jerry Dandridge, you know, his role, the guy that played him
Yeah.
was really good because his role, he fell into that sinisterness of that vampire. He showed his age as well. You know, Jerry Daniels has been around for a long time. This character here, Cynthia's Temptress character, you can tell that she, you know, she's a seasoned demon. She's probably been around for a long time. And like Lion, she's just
Hmm.
sitting close to the gazelles, man, just picking them off at her leisure. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
you really
She had the
felt
water
that
at the
she
watering hole. Yep.
right. You really felt that she understood us as men. And that's what really gave me the creeps about this film because
Hmm.
I'm gonna tell you straight up, I would have been on the chopping block along with them other guys, man, because you see her at the end of the bar, bro. It was automatic. It was a wrap right there. Hey, how you doing? You know,
Right.
I'm in the grave right there
Right.
because she was absolutely gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So
Yeah.
she really nailed her
Yeah.
part as far as the character's character, man. I can go on forever about just little things about her sinisterness, man. Like there's the one part where she goes to pick up Joel from Kay's apartment, and then Joel leaves the room to go get something, and then Kadeem Hardis's character challenges her from the distance, like, "Hey, man, what you trying to do? You was talking to me, like you trying to play me." And then he
Right.
sees the mirror, then he looks at her, and there's no reflection, and she just in his grill, like.
Yeah.
And then she comes up to him and she says, "There's something wrong, Kay." And that mom was
Yeah.
shitted himself, man, straight up.
Yeah. I mean, what would you do? What would you do in that situation? Like
Shook.
we're not prepared for this. Not mentally prepared for that shit.
Nope.
Shitting yourself.
Yeah, it was just again, she really, even though, the acting could have been a lot better, but I think that if anybody
Yeah.
understood their character in this film, she absolutely did. 100%, man. And I think
Yeah.
that she should be included in, like,
Absolutely.
when people get in discussions about different iconic, black horror monsters or creatures and stuff. I never hear
Hmm.
anybody talk about her. She's just as good as, to me,
Right. Right.
as any other vampire or anything that we've ever had. This character's never, it never comes up. So
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
so that's my favorite
I
character.
gotta. Yeah. I gotta. Man. I want to. She's a close second for me.
Right.
She's a close second. My favorite character though, man, has got to be Bill Nunn. Just because he's so goofy, man. As when he's in the bar and like he's hitting on all these ladies and he's always getting rejected. But he's always lying. Like he tells the most blatant lies. Like I forgot. He's like, yeah, I play for the Lakers. I'm like, whatever.
Hmm. I'm
It'll
a
be something
surgeon.
stupid. Like, right. Like, bro, come on, man. Like, what are you talking about? Just be yourself, man. Just tell him you're an FBI agent. Whatever.
Right.
But I just thought, man, he was just so silly. But he was also like the voice of reason.
Yeah.
He kept trying to warn the dudes, like, hey, man, hey, that chick at the end of the bar, she bad news.
Hmm.
But dudes don't see that, man. They get
Nah.
blinded.
Yep. We looking at
She
the
bad
physical.
news. So he was like our voice of reason. He's like the audience. Right. He was like speaking for the audience. Like, hey, don't mess with her. Don't mess with
Yeah.
her. I just like how goofy he was as a character, man. I kind of hate that he went out the way he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like them. Yeah, I don't like how he went out, man. He went out like an off-screen type death, man, and
Right.
I just wish he would have had a chance to fight. But I can understand with budgetary issues and all that. But
Right.
yeah, I didn't like how he went out. He was too good of a character to me. But close
Right.
second, man. Close second is the Temptress because she was just. I mean, how can you not like her? And that one dude that she got, like that poor guy, man. Like I don't know what she was doing to his butt. What?
Oh, you talking about the
That dude was like,
bisexual
"Oh my
guy that
god,
got it?
yeah." I don't know what she put in him or whatever, but yeah, poor dude, man.
Yeah.
'Cause
And
he
see
caught it.
that part right there, I like that too, because again, demons and angels and whatnot, they don't really have a gender, so it's kind of like
Right.
they can change at will to what they desire. So
Right.
and he
Right. Right.
came to her crib unannounced, so that's why he got it so wrong.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
He caught hell.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Poor dude. All right. Well, that leads us to like, what's the best kill in the movie? Your favorite?
Wow. Let me see. Well, I'd have to say for me would be the married guy, the guy that came in there and took his ring off with the glasses. Um, I'm trying to remember his. I think his name was Ronnie Clayton. That was the actor's name. Because again, it was one of those things where you know guys, we have a tendency to be stamped as cheaters. So here, this guy, I'm going to the
Yeah.
club. My old lady, she's at the house. I'm gonna try to cheat tonight. This is my first time. I'm gonna try this out. I need some recreation. So he goes in there thinking, I'm just gonna do this and see what happens. And unbeknownst, he walks into the jaws of death, and
Right.
brings him home. And then you got Freak City going on with the things that she was doing to him. And the whole time, I think, out of all the other kills, I think she toyed with him the most because, in the beginning, she knew his name, or he's trying to lie, say, "Oh, my name is John," and she's like, "Oh, really, John?
Yeah, she knew he was married. Yeah.
You look to me more like a Norman," and call his name right there. I mean, that to me, that would have
Like
been
a
flag,
Norman.
right? Oh
Yeah.
shit! I
Yeah.
don't know why he didn't run away then, but I
You know
guess
my wife? Let me get out of here.
right. So she takes him back to the crib, and they do their
Yeah.
thing, and then she actually allows him to live through the night, and he wakes up, and he's scarred, he's got scratches all over him, and he's like, "What the hell? How am I gonna go back and explain this to?" And she's like, "Your wife?" She's like, "That ain't nothing compared to what I've done to you. What I've
Yeah.
given you, there's no cure for." And he
Yeah.
shook, man. And then he tries to go downstairs. She's like, "Get out of here! I'm tired of looking at you." He tries to go downstairs. His damn skin's starting to sizzle, man. Like, damn.
Yeah.
But that was brutal.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
I mean, that's a fate worse than death.
Right.
He know he got to go home with that. That's a fate worse than. He's like, you might as well kill me now.
Yeah. Might as well die right now.
You see him later in it. You see him later in the dream sequence. Shot in the face. He said, my wife shot me.
Wife shot.
She saw what happened.
But that's my favorite kill.
But, man, for me, it's kind of a tough choice. I'm gonna say this. It's the best kill to me, but it's the one that like I didn't see coming, and it's Kadeem Hardison.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the reason I like it is because even though this is a really low budget movie, I like the effect they used to kill him with the TV.
Oh yeah.
Because he got eaten by the TV, and they filmed it in such a way that it doesn't look cheap. With all the things that look cheap in this movie, some of the settings, some of the makeup, some of the gore effects, like the blood is like a weird color.
Yeah.
The TV, for whatever reason, like him being eaten by the TV, was really effective.
Right.
It was like a really effective special effect, and you can hear him being like chewed up, and then it spits the bones and blood out.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was cool. Like that could have been in a much higher budget movie. That scene itself. Maybe they spent their whole budget on that scene. I don't know, but to me that was like the best kill. And also, I didn't see it coming because I hadn't seen this in so long. I completely forgot about this movie, and I was like, hold on, what? I thought he was the hero.
Right. You figure he would be.
But no, he's like the second. Right. He's like the second to last person to die. I was thinking that Joel was going to die.
Right. Because he came across so weak and timid.
But yes, for me, that was my favorite kill of the movie, man. The TV scene, because I just thought that was cool. And back in the day, I know it would have been even more effective back then because we grew up with movies like Poltergeist.
Right.
Looking into the TV and everything, and like Videodrome and all kinds of those movies back in the day.
Right.
And to have seen that, to have seen that back in like 1990, that would have been really effective because that's way before The Ring came out.
Yeah, using the
The girl
TV.
comes out of the TV and everything. So yeah, so that was just really effective kill. I kind of like that one. Yeah, good job, James Bond the third on that scene. That was pretty
Absolutely, absolutely.
cool. Do you have a favorite scene or line from this movie?
Well, as far as lines go, the bartender in the beginning. Trying to think of the actor's name. Give me a second here. John Terrell. Yeah, he was in I think he was in Five Heartbeats, and he was in Mo Better Blues. I think he had a small part in that, and he was in Boomerang. But that guy, he had a thing going on. Like, you know how like we talked about, some of these actors have like these one liners that they say in all of their films, or they get a chance to say in all their films.
Yeah.
Well, he had this line back during this time period where like somebody would ask him a question, hey man, can I get that, or can I get some of that? And he'd always say, "Oh no, my brother, you got to get your own." And that's what he
Right.
said in the beginning when he was on the phone, and he was talking to the girl, he was going to see that night. So I kind of like the fact that he carried that through a couple of films. I think he might have said it in
Right.
either Mo Better Blues, or he said it in Boomerang. But it was one of those films he also said it in.
So now you're gonna make me go back and look.
But that was his thing. That was his thing. That
Yeah.
was
Now
his
you're gonna make
line.
me go back and look.
Favorite scene? I think I told you the one where she comes to pick Joel up for their brunch, and then Kadim's character is
Mm-hmm.
gets the chance to pull her aside and say, "Hey, what's up with the other night? I thought that we were supposed to be, together, and you off trying to mess with my boy here, my brother. Like, what's going on? That's trash. What kind of dope you smoking?" And then he realizes that she's not casting a reflection, and just the look on his face when he's looking at her,
Yeah.
and she just in her most sinister confidence, like, is there something wrong, Kay?
Something wrong, Kay?
And then, he ain't, it's nothing he could say. He cooked, you know.
Yeah.
And then Joel comes, he's like, "Oh, I'll be seeing you soon," And I'm just like, she's just toying with these guys,
Yeah.
man. And I just love that about that character, man. The confidence was just oozing out of every hole in her, man. Seriously,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So that's my
Yeah.
favorite scene.
For me, man, it's a line. Bill Nunn, when remember when they get the holy water, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They get the holy water, and they get the other bartender to take it in the bar and say, "Hey, man, put this in her drink."
Mm-hmm.
So Bill Nunn and Kadeem Hardison are standing outside, and you see the bartender, like, he sneaks out a drink and everything, and keeps going back and forth between the Temptress and them talking. But Bill Nunn says, "All right, man, when she drinks this holy water, she gonna start coughing and farting and all kind of shit."
Look, man, when she drinks that holy water, she's gonna start slobbering and farting and gagging and shit.
And to me,
Right.
that is hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
he said, like, she gonna start farting and all kind of shit, and then it, like, immediately it goes to her. She's like coughing and all kind of shit happened to her. Like, she's on the ground, like, just and having convulsions and everything. And to
Right.
me, that was just like the funniest line of the movie.
Yeah.
Just because, like, first of all, I didn't even expect him to say that.
Right. It came out of
And
nowhere.
it's just something as right as two black dudes. That's something we would say.
Yeah.
Like, "Hey, man, hey, when you get a hold of that, man, you gonna start choking and farting and shit. Make sure you go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
And that's exactly how he said it. And I mean, I laughed so hard when I heard that shit.
Right.
I'm in here watching the movie with headphones on, and I know I'm laughing loud. So yeah, for me, that's the funniest. That is definitely the funniest scene and the best line in the movie for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I agree.
And then it didn't even work. It didn't even work.
Nope.
I'm like, and this is the other thing where we don't know what she is, because she doesn't have a reflection.
Right.
All right, vampire, holy water, vampire.
Mm-hmm.
But then she turns into like a demon.
Yeah.
She's a temptress. She's a succubus. So it's one of those things where the movie leaves it vague enough so that you don't know what the rules are.
Right, right.
You don't know if she, she can't look at a cross. And you don't know these things from the offset.
And don't forget sunlight.
You don't
She
know
was around. She's
what her
walking around the
weaknesses
sunlight.
are. Right, right. Yes, you don't know what her weaknesses are. I'm like, well, what is she? What the hell is she?
Yeah.
Some made up monster. Yeah. Like, she's evil. That's all you need to know. She'll eat your ass if you kill her, basically.
Right, right.
So what's the dumbest thing that happens in this movie, man? To you?
There's a lot of dumb scenes. I would think toward the end. But I would say the dumbest thing again was when Dougie and Kate split up. I thought that was funny. They sit there and they're arguing for like 2 minutes on which way to go. I'm like, come on, man,
Yeah.
and then Kay's like, all right, man, look, I'll see you when I see you, and they both end up getting off, So it was just that scene right there.
Right.
I was like, come on, man, it didn't fit.
Yeah,
it didn't fit.
They splitting up to make the plot move along. It didn't make any actual sense.
Exactly.
At all. Man, yeah, for me, man, I think the dumbest. And what's crazy, I remember you saying that your son would be like, man, I wouldn't fall for that woman at the bar.
Right.
But I mean, he didn't live in the 90s and the 80s.
Right.
He just don't understand that, like, you were there for that reason.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You weren't meeting nobody online. You was there for that reason. So if somebody gave you some play, you was probably going for it.
Absolutely.
But that being said, when Norman comes in there looking like average Joe.
Exactly.
With all these other people sitting around the bar, there's one woman sitting down there with nobody around. She's absolutely gorgeous. Nobody's over there. And you walk in there, take your ring off, and you go after the first cat to say something to you, man. And I just thought, like, bro, you got to be stupid.
Flag should have won.
It got to be somebody else in that bar. Right. This is supposed to be your first time, man. You going for the dime. You need to go for them 6s and 7s, homie.
Right.
You didn't pull up in a limousine, bro. I don't know who you think you are. You think you Billy Valentine, man? Like, you got a limousine outside.
Right.
Think you Ron O'Neal or something, man? Like, who you think you are?
Absolutely right.
No, bro. So yeah. That's on that note, man. I 100% agree with your son. Like, nah, bro, not for you. You should have stayed away from that one. The bartender, I can kind of see that one. That was his. They put that in your head at the beginning of the movie, man. The bartender's a whole player. Right. Like, he on the phone with a girl, like, oh yeah, get an abortion, I'm gonna pay for it. And then he on the phone with another chick. Then he talked to her. Like, they put in your head that he's kind of a dirtbag. He a player. Right. You know he a pretty boy or whatever. You kind of understand that one. But Norman, nah, bro. You was dumb. You was dumb for that, man.
Yeah, he was dumb. Big time. I agree with you.
All right, so why is it that you like this movie?
To me, it really messed around with doing it again. We're talking about time period. That was the thing during the time period in the 90s. Get dressed up, go to the club, try to holler at the prettiest woman, and so it's kind of like seeded in all men. Like it's almost like that's our vulnerability. And again, that was her sole purpose, is to to devour men, to devour us, for pleasure. And it really sat with me. Like it was kind of almost like you thinking like that's our biggest thing as far as how to get to us. And even on a religious standpoint of it, man, if you think about it, I've heard the phrase, faith without works is dead. And this film brought it up, and it really, really hit home, as far as like Joel going through all these changes and different things, not understanding what type of power he possessed. And when his grandmother said, hey, when you, just before you reach your goal, it's actually a crossroads and you got to look both ways. So his character went through several changes before at the end realized what his purpose and his power was. And I thought that that came across really nice. So there's a lot of little pieces in this low budget film that actually were really, really nice and just gave the film a little bit more weight than it was given credit for. You know what I mean? So that's why I like the film. Of course, Cynthia, man. I mean, I'm always going to talk about Cynthia.
Yeah,
Man.
of
I
course.
love her character, 100%, man.
Right. Icing on the cake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Man, so at first, I agree with everything you said. For me, one thing that I also forgot about this movie is the soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
And it's so early 90s, late 80s. And it just invokes all these memories of that time. Listening to this just watching this movie, listen to this music. And these weren't like necessarily the most popular songs of the day. It's just that they have that early 90s, late 80s sound.
Right.
And it just brings back so many good memories, man, of that time period. And then it also helps that this movie shot like a music video.
Yeah.
It reminds you of music videos from that time. So even if you're not paying the most attention to the movie, man, just the music and the scenery and the cinematography of it brings you back to an earlier time. And if you're around our age, you understand what I'm saying. If you're younger, you may not get it, but for me personally, it definitely just brings back a lot of good memories of that, late 80s, early 90s vibe. And it's just one of those movies you just kind of sit back and vibe to, man. The soundtrack, you can kind of sit back and vibe to it.
Right.
And it's a situation where, and this happens with certain movies, man, where the soundtrack kind of outlives the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case for this movie, but the soundtrack really is for this movie special. It's kind of like New Jack City. New Jack City is a classic, but you remember the soundtrack just as much as the movie.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of classic songs on that soundtrack.
Absolutely.
So yeah, this movie kind of reminds me of that, man. New Jack City was a little bit bigger budget movie,
right?
It's in that same zone, man. Of vibe, man. The music just brings you back,
right? And
that's
talking
what I
about
really appreciate about this movie.
Yeah, talking about the soundtrack too. Before I forget, we had Freddie Jackson was on the soundtrack. He had the song "All Over You." He played a cameo in the film. Then you had Melba Moore.
Yeah.
Melba Moore played Lady Sonia. She was in the film. Najee was playing the sax when Temptress and Kadeem Hardison's character was at the table. It's kind of cool how these people were in the film and they were on the soundtrack too. So that was cool as hell.
So now, after revisiting this movie, I'm like, let me go back, man. When I'm out in the gym, I'll pull up YouTube music, man. I'll pull up a soundtrack or whatever. So yeah, this is gonna be the next one I'm gonna be listening to.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah,
I like
man. Look, Alice, man, I wanna really thank you for suggesting this movie because, like I said, I hadn't seen it in forever. I honestly forgot about it, and I'm just glad you brought it up because another one of those movies that people are gonna forget. Who knows how many people will see this video? But
yeah.
Hopefully, man. Hopefully, we bring it to someone's attention and they get to see it at some point.
Absolutely.
Just appreciate it. Yes, it's kind of corny. Yeah, it's low budget, but there's plenty of low budget movies out there that are really good, and you got to give them a shot. You can't forget about these ones, especially these ones that have great soundtracks.
Right. And with this film in particular, during this time period, man, up to this time period, there were no all black horror films. I think this was before Vampire in Brooklyn. So again, it's a piece of history.
5 years before Vampire in Brooklyn.
Right. It's a piece of history, man. And again, we don't. Besides you and me, I've never had a conversation with anybody besides besides you and me about this film that that we actually knew what it was, and which is crazy.
Yeah. Oh man, look, like I said, I really appreciate it. Hey y'all, if you're watching this, really appreciate it. If you have suggestions for movies, please leave us a comment, man. Like, share, subscribe. Me and Alice are going to be back. We got plenty more to come. There's plenty more movies in October, like I said before. We're trying to do some horror movies. So we got some more coming for y'all. So please stay tuned. Alex, you got any parting words for us?
Just continue to appreciate these films, and everybody take care, and we'll see you in the next one.
That's right. Y'all take it easy.